With AMD, we need to watch this specific pattern. Do you see how it's inside? Hey everybody, in tonight's video we're going to go through 5 stocks to buy tomorrow. What were the big movers today and stay to the end because we're going to go over the indexes. Now, AMD, what we're going to focus on is the fact that we have some earnings coming out, but this 5-day, we really need to watch the 5-day moving average. And we're going to look for a trade here. Everything we do here is pretty timely, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, click all notifications so you're notified when these videos come out. But if you take a look here and you see how you're closing right on that level, and we'll expand this out a little bit, right? So now you flip. Now you have an inside bar and an inside bar. That's not really what you want to see, and you have another pattern in the NASDAQ that happened today that you just really don't want to see. So what does this mean? Well, it means that you're setting up for a major move. We just don't know which way. When you start seeing them box themselves in like this, right, where you're just constantly making those double inside days, it usually ends violently with somebody winning and somebody losing. Which way that's going to go, it's very difficult to say, especially if you're below the 5-day. I would look at this tomorrow and I would want to see how this acts. Now, you have mixed reviews after hours because you had NXPI come out with earnings and they actually lowered guidance. Now they lowered guidance and it's only down a little bit. You're going to want to watch this tomorrow and watch how it acts on that lowered guidance. If you see NXPI trading up on lowered guidance, then you're going to want to take a harder look at AMD tomorrow. Now, another one that came out that actually had good numbers, revenue and earnings, LSCC. So we closed here at 48.51 and Lattice actually is up after hours, which is exactly what you want to see. And we always talk about these particular patterns, but let's mark it off again for everybody. You want to watch the first 15-minute bar. Once that first 15-minute bar is set up, then you're set up with your range, right? And right now you can see how we are kind of wedged in there. So we're going to want to watch this one tomorrow, but we did see some nasty action I wanted to, and some of the other semi names I want to talk about in a moment here. But I would watch these two tomorrow. Watch how we react to NXPI missing. Watch how we react to LSCC. And then we're going to see how we react to AMD. Now, Nvidia overall was setting up perfectly, and then it rolled. Now, it's not broken. Nothing's changed, but I think it makes sense to talk about this, and I think it warrants a conversation. So this, from gapping down here and in closing, is a bullish engulfing pattern. We did not confirm. Matter of fact, what we did was the exact opposite. We opened and just sold down. Now, it didn't fall out of bed, but it didn't exactly do what we'd want it to do, right? So let's see if we can hold this 5. As long as we're holding the 5, we've been holding that for about 2 weeks now. That should be a good indicator of what's going to happen tomorrow with Nvidia, with AMD, quite frankly. So you're just going to want to kind of watch this and see how this plays itself out. But overall, I do like the semis, and I think it's worth talking about, but you have to look at some of the writing on the wall. So when we start getting to these 5 days and you're stopping on those 5s, doesn't mean that you're going to break above it and you're really going to go, but above the 5 and then a higher high, you probably want to stay out of the way, right? You haven't had one of those in a while where you had above the 5 and then a higher high. Matter of fact, you really haven't had one since back here, right? So it's been a solid month since we've seen that. I don't know if we're going to see that or not again, but watch this and watch the 5-day moving averages on these levels. It's so significant, and I'm spending time with semis on purpose. Now, I'm not crazy about today's action at all. We should have had follow through, and we should have had follow through because there was so much volume on Friday that we should have had follow through, either the shorts wanting to cover or the longs feeling that they're going to have some FOMO. That's not what we got today. And now Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going into the Fed meeting. Tuesday will be a non-event after the first hour or two into the close, and then Wednesday's dead money, except for earnings plays until 2 o'clock when they make the announcement and then the speech. We know that. But I do think that there are some signals here that as good as things looked on Friday as a possible turnaround, the breadth, if we look at it, has definitely gotten worse today. And I'll show you a real quick way just to look at the breadth and just know that it's gotten worse today. You can do it in 2 seconds. But what you want to do, I'll save that for the end. But what you want to do here is, look, you're taking out these lower lows, right? Here's your doji. This is a great pattern. I have a doji right here, and then I have another doji inside that one. Whenever you break that, you've had 2 battles going on. You're setting up for a big move down. This was something in the trading community that we've been short for some time. And we actually just shorted it again today and have some puts on it that we're doing very well on. I think we're up 75% on them right now. What we have left, we trim some. So I like it, and I still like it for a short. I'm going to show you this because now we can look at the monthly charts. This is a really simple trade if you're trying to be a long-term investor in this. Just don't buy it till it closes above the 5-month. If you think about it from that perspective, if you can't wait for that and you're trying to time the bottom, you've missed the bottom all year by telling yourself, oh, it's good value, it's good value. Okay, you're not the arbiter of good value. I don't know who needs to hear that. The market is. The market will tell you when it's done going down, not the PE. The PEs are completely irrelevant, especially when you're in a complete state of flux with interest rates. So when you see something like this, you have to assume that you can go lower. You know, one of the things I want to really point out is these can go a lot lower than people think they can, a lot. So just keep that in mind. Now, I like this as a short, and it's definitely something that I would be adding to. I would look for weakness tomorrow, too, in some of the energy names. We have Biden giving a speech as I'm doing this. I'm sure it's all about how bad oil companies are and, how that's why gas prices are high and et cetera. But it doesn't really matter what he says. What matters is how the stocks act, right? So if you see names like ERX, this is from the newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, there's a free version down below. But I didn't really fall out of bed here. I actually held in there quite nicely, right? Now, would I add to these into a speech? No. But if we don't fall down on them after a speech tomorrow, I would be looking at energy names. I think energy are really your safest play going into the prospective Fed meeting. I mean, very few indexes that if you go and look at sectors, very few sectors actually closed green today. So this chart's skewed for a moment, but I really want to show this. Now, in regards to over here, list all your top sectors and then sort your top sectors by just simply hitting that change button, okay? And you can see who's the worst and who's the best. And then what you do with all those sectors is you put the S&P in there too. Then you can see who's outperformed the S&P, and then you can see who's underperformed. If you're looking at this, you can see very clearly that the breadth was awful today. You can see where all the money went today, right? All the money went to energy today. It did not go into, it definitely did not go into biotech. It definitely did not go into tech. It was not in basic materials, right? So we know where the money went. By doing something so simplistic, we can just get a really good understanding of where the inflows are going and outflows. You know the breadth is horrible without looking at breadth numbers or advanced decline lines, new high lows. You already know your whole story just by looking at that. You can see the majority and just get a sense and feel of the market. There are other indicators I would tell you to use. One that I'm using and it triggered today was we're back over that 5-day moving average on the 10-year yield. I don't want to be here. I want to be below this. I want to be breaking 4. You know, this concerns me. Why are we going up ahead of the speech? It's almost like, did they leak, right? We know that this current Fed seems to have a panache for wanting to be liked, and they really enjoy being on camera. And they seem to be very talkative to Wall Street. So I know they're not supposed to in some cases, but they don't seem to really matter. It doesn't really seem to matter what protocol is. So where I'm getting at here is I think something came out that might be in that speech. I could be wrong, and it's conjecture, and I have no way of knowing that. But that's a really very interesting move going into this on virtually no economic data today. I mean, we had Chicago PMI this morning. That alludes a little bit to what PMI will be tomorrow when that comes out, but not enough that we would see that. If you take a look at the VIX is not responding at all to this. So the VIX is not moving, right? The VIX actually is down. Okay, I mean you have an inside day on it, but they're selling the bond market. Okay, we did have the dollar rally, and that's an issue. But I have a sense here that maybe something's in his speech. That's kind of where my head is with it. Again, I have no way of knowing that. In regards to SPY, I just want to touch base on this. These little dojis, I don't care about this. What I care about is that breadth I just showed you with those 10 sectors and only one's up. Okay, if energy was down 1% today, this would have gotten smoked and probably would have broken the 5-day. I would strongly suggest you use a 5-day moving average on all your charts right now, and I'd strongly suggest that it become a simple moving average. Okay, Look at where you're at right now. Look at how you tried to get over it, couldn't. Now I've got this wonky hammer bar inside here. I don't want a hammer bar inside a long green bar. I want to be popping out of it, or I wanted another inside long green bar, or maybe something that gapped down here and then only came up. This is not where I want to be. This is like worst position, right? Because all I have to do is get below the close tomorrow, and then I could just start seeing selling. And that's not really where I want to be. If you take a look at the indexes as a whole, best performing one is IWM. I would continue to focus on that and small cap names. That's where our focus has been. So, you do have some names out there that seem to be running. I'm just going to say that I'm not saying not to play them. I'm saying that if the bottom falls out of this, you're going to have to be really, really careful. This was one where we were in. If you take a look at this name, okay, and if you follow it from the newsletter, link in description below. Why am I bringing this up? Well, we made $6, $5 scaled out, $6 scaled out. My target was 40, right? It was just a measured move off an upper band range. And what did we get to today? 39.93, and then rejected. When we rejected, look at that rejection. Okay, when you start seeing this and you start seeing it happen in names, you need to pay attention. When you start seeing breakouts completely fail and reject and take out the lows, even the smaller names, you really need to pay attention to that. That's it, everybody. Have a great evening. Trade to win.